I'm currently the CEO of Li3 Energy, which is an advanced exploration lithium project in Chile. I'm also the CEO of Compañía Minera Quirubilca, which is an operating polymetallic mine here in Peru. In addition, I'm a director of Alpha Resource Advisors, which is an investment boutique that helps companies and projects find financing in the capital markets or in the equity markets. Well, I mean, the challenge for miners has always been accessing the capital, any kind of capital, whether it's debt financing from banks or other debt providers, or the capital markets with the equity markets. What we've seen in the last, particularly in the last 2 years, is that the equity markets are very complicated right now. Many would say that depending on the type of project that you have, the equity markets have disappeared as a source of capital. So private equity is actually very, very important, because private equity in the first place has a longer term view. I mean, they as opposed to bank debt, for example, that can be 3 or 4 years of a term on a debt. The private equity usually goes much longer than that, 6 to 10 years. And the typical mining project, from call it pre-feasibility to feasibility to construction and production, will take you about 7 years. So the sooner that you can get those private equity, that private equity capital, the better that you can manage your time. Another big advantage of private equity is that they are very committed. They want to fund you through feasibility and construction, and they have the ability to do that. Let's just say it's a very loyal kind of investor. And because it's private, it potentially gets a lot easier to deal with them. So for the miner, accessing private equity is very important. And today in the conference, in the private equity panel, which I moderated, we had 3 very large and important funds whose biggest advantage is that they are funds that are focused on mining, and have dedicated people that specialize on mining, which is also a key factor and an advantage. First of all, the event has grown over the last 3 years, and not only in numbers, but I think in quality. The keynote speakers this year around, like Rick Rule, Frank Holmes, are very well known in the mining industry. And the fact that the conference can attract these types of investors and bring them all the way down to Lima for a couple of days says a lot about how the conference is evolving. Okay, it is great to see. There's a lot of conferences around. Throughout the year, you can spend practically every week going to a conference. But I think the big differentiating factor here is that the conference has become a center where you have mining companies and companies that need funding, and you also have the private equity, the streaming companies, alternative financing, and banks in the same place, all of them exposing their products, allowing the mining companies, like the ones I represent, both on the advisory side with Alpha, but also as a mining company myself with Quirubilca and Li3. It allows us to see the different alternatives for financing and know who to talk to, as opposed to having to go to London, New York, Hong Kong to do it. So it's very useful, and the fact that it's grown in such a way, again, not only in numbers but also in quality, speaks very highly of the organization.